The title of this course is The Power of Training Dogs with Markers. This is a course that I just releasing it in 2024 that I originally did back in 2005, and the material in the course back in 2005 was good. It's still good today. The only thing that's different is in the last 19 years, we've learned so much about how to apply marker training in dog training to be able to have a clear communication with our dogs that's non-confrontational, reward-based, that I felt it was time to redo it. And that first video that we did in 2005 had a little over an hour and 20 minutes in the video. It was a DVD. The new course that we're releasing has over 4 hours of video. It has over 80 short videos in it with extensive written material to go along with it to support the concepts that we're going to talk about. The beauty of marker training is that it can be started with 8-week-old puppies the minute you walk your dog into the house. You can be started with bringing a 10-year-old rescue dog into your house. One of the last videos that I produced with my friend Kevin Sheldall was titled Training Detector Dogs for the Police Service Dog. And in that, we had marker sections on how to train narcotics dogs, how to train bomb dogs. There's so many applications for learning how to train dogs. It can be the foundation and should be the foundation of all of your training with your dog. It's so important because it's a system that is very clear to the dog, but it's not so clear to new trainers that start to want to figure out how marker training works. But 20 years ago, I coined the phrase that marker training is simple, but it's not easy. And I hope that what I'm doing in this course is going to make it easy for new trainers to take marker training in a step-by-step fashion for them to understand. Because if they understand it, then their dogs will understand it. Now, one of the things that I've done in this course that I didn't do 20 years ago was I put a number of videos in there on new dog trainers trying to apply some, but not all, of the concepts, of the behaviors that can be trained with markers. And I'll be honest that I didn't put these in there to be critical of the mistakes that new trainers make, because I made them. Almost everybody that tries to learn marker training is going to make very similar mistakes. And it takes a while to learn how to do it. I totally respect the people that have allowed me to put their videos of them learning marker training in this course. Because I think that showing people a fully trained dog and all the things that these fully trained dogs can do with clickers or markers, it's the same concept, is cool. But in my opinion, watching a fully trained dog doesn't really teach somebody about how to apply markers, how to learn markers, as to see someone that's trying to do it and making a few mistakes. But it's important to understand that you're going to make mistakes. I made mistakes. That's how we learn, is from our mistakes. My goal in this course is to make marker training crystal clear to the new people that want to learn how to train their dogs with markers. And quite frankly, in today's world, I came from the old yank and crank method of dog training. I'm 76 years old. I've been training dogs since I was a little kid. There was no marker training when I trained dogs. I was training dogs for 20-some years before marker training even started in this country, which was in the early 1992, 1993. And when it first came out, I thought, well, that's poo-poo. You can't teach your dog to do stuff with that. Boy, was I dead wrong. I remember an email I got in the late 90s from somebody in Switzerland that said, well, we don't train dogs the way you train dogs over there. We train our dogs to retrieve using markers. And I can remember how stupid I was and wrote back and said, you can't do that. Nobody can do that. Well, guess what? They can. And when they do it, you end up having a dog that loves doing retrieve work. So this is a system of paying attention to details. Timing and details are so important here. For example, if we're going to mark a behavior, it makes no difference. Let's keep it simple and say, I just want to teach my dog to sit with markers. And We lure the dog into a sit. In the second that dog's butt touches the ground, we mark it. We use the word yes to mark it. And we deliver a food reward. And the key here is timing, because we have to deliver that reward within 1.5 seconds of marking a behavior. Now, over time, we can extend that time period out. We can change how we deliver food rewards. But in the beginning, when you mark a behavior, you have to be delivering that reward right away. I make a huge thing about when, how to do that, how to turn rewards into reward events, not just reward one time, but reward multiple times. So we maintain our dogs' engagement and focus on us and loving training. And that's our goal. That's what we want to do. I remember back in the day, and even still, I've watched a lot of videos on clicker training. Marker training, you can use a verbal yes, you can use a clicker, no difference, same thing. But I've watched a lot of videos on clicker training, and so many times there are small little details that are left out of the system that can confuse you. Because if you don't understand exactly how to apply the systems of marker training, the system of the timing and the rewards, you're not going to be as successful as you could. So, with that said, I'll close this out too with something else that has come to me over the years, how I got marker trained myself by Culver's. Maybe I shouldn't put this in a video, but it kind of reminded me of, the foundation of marker training is classical conditioning, and classical conditioning, because it started in Russia with a guy named Pavlov that was doing some trainings, studies with dogs. And he found out that he had a big kennel, and before his people fed the dogs, they rang a bell. After a dog had been there for a while, when they heard the bell go off, the dog started to salivate. Now, the dogs didn't think about salivating. It was an involuntary reaction to the bell going off, because they knew that bell going off was going to result in them getting their food. So Culver's has classically conditioned me. I love chocolate ice cream cones from Culver's. And unfortunately, there is a Culver's between this office and my home. And when I'm driving home and trying to talk myself out of going into Culver's, and I go into Culver's and I get in the line to go through the drive-through, all of a sudden my mouth's starting to salivate. I got underneath my tongue, just thinking about Culver's right now makes me salivate more. And I started to realize, wait a minute, I'm getting classically conditioned to going to Culver's to get a chocolate ice cream cone. Now here's the difference on why I bring this up. Because we want to classically condition our dogs to markers. When we start our training in markers, we talk about how we condition the mark. We give the mark, we give a reward, mark, reward, mark, reward. And it doesn't take long for a dog to understand that when we give a mark, it's going to be followed by a reward. But I realized that in training, let's say I mark a behavior for 2 weeks. I don't think at the end of 2 weeks, a dog is going to start to salivate because it knows it's going to get a high value food reward. It took me more than 2 weeks to go into Culver's before I started to salivate when I went to Culver's. So we can train our dogs to know pretty quickly that when we mark a behavior, they're going to get a food reward. That doesn't mean, in my opinion, it doesn't mean that that dog is classically conditioned to get a food reward after a mark. That takes time. That took me a long time to figure that out. Culver's helped me figure it out. I want to get my dogs classically conditioned with marker training, but it takes time, and I have to do it all correctly in the correct step-by-step fashion. And when I do have a dog that's classically conditioned to marker training, you have a powerful tool. It's like me, driving by Culver's, it's pretty hard to say, no, I don't want it. And it's the same for my dog. If my dog is really classically conditioned to a food reward or its favorite toy reward, it's pretty hard for them to refuse to do a behavior when they know they really, really, really love the reward they're going to get. So I'm going to teach you in this course, hopefully, how to start your journey on marker training, because it is a long journey. Your dog's not going to get classically conditioned in 2 weeks. It may not get classically conditioned in 2 months, but if you keep after it and if you do the right things, you will classically condition your dog to love training because it loves the rewards it's going to get. I would say that if you are a new dog trainer, get this course, study this course. It's not meant to be watched one time. Watch it 10 times, watch it 15 times, take notes. Go out and video yourself using markers, then come back in, take your cell phone video and sit down and look at it. Because if you look at the training that we're going to put in the course, and then you're going to watch the student videos that I put in the course, and you're going to see some of the common mistakes, you're going to recognize your mistakes if you sit and videotape them. And in the end, it's going to make you a better dog trainer. So we've got over 4 hours of video here and really good written material. And I hope that this course inspires you on how to sit back, think about what you want to train your dog, and then think about how you can break that training down into small pieces and then train it motivationally with reward-based training using